So, like, how do we access messages from our dreams?
That's a skill set, I think. I tend to think the dream books can be a little off. However, there are certain archetypes that appear, and if y'all are interested, do a little research from Carolyn Mace, MYSS, her work on archetypes, and certainly Carl Jung. It's an old theory that the archetypes are the building block to how we present. I call it with the five physical senses in the physical world an archetype: the king, the prince, the warrior, the demonic person, and it goes on and on. And now we have the archetype of the nerd. We have, and it adds, it's a fluid thing. And your dreams are fluid, but you might recognize over and over pieces of when you know that when you see that, it means something. And I would pay attention to that. I have in my dreams, I find it fascinating because if I'm around people and it's this certain female archetype or it's a real person in the astral, I tend to think it is these days, but she's always about 5'5". She's heavy set, kind of Russian looking, no nonsense gal. I mean, no nonsense. And she's usually with younger women, and I'm one of those women. So is that an archetype of me? Is it what was her name that shows up here? Margot, who I talk about occasionally, who shows up in the house. And I say she looks like Madame Blavatsky. She acts like that, just not social graces. She does not care about that. She's always focused. So I know that when I see her in a dream, it's about maiden, mother, and crone. It's the different phases of femininity and how we move carefully or not through those phases. When I had my croning ceremony, I said, I'm no longer the mother or the maiden. I'm now expressing and learning as the older woman, the grandmother archetype, the auntie. It's time to give back, but not just be codependent with it, but to give back what I have learned and what I have to offer and to be absolutely outrageous in my desire to move forward. So, what are the archetypes that might appear in your dreams? Also, the colors. Do you have certain colors that appear? Do you have recurring dreams? You will see a pattern because I can absolutely guarantee you, though I don't do it, that people who keep dream journals, you get better at it. And that is a great thing because you will see, and we forget about it. I'll have a dream. I wake up and go, whatever. And then in 20 minutes, it's gone. I'm not good at it. I don't pay attention to it unless it's a humdinger of a dream. And we do have those. So I would suggest if you're interested in that dream journaling, I would suggest going on your feelings. What did the dream feel like more than what the characters were? What are you feeling? Did you come out of that dream being curious, contented, upset, afraid? Is it a repetitive thing that you've been going through during the day? Because the dreams, what's wonderful about that is that our mind, our brain mind, will start just shooting off ideas and ideals that we haven't dealt with during the day. And it's kind of like a dumping ground. But also in your dreams, you do go into the astral realm. And it's probably realm 3 to about 5. 1 and 2 are what people call hell. They're pretty icky. So that's what I would think about it. Linda, do you have any ideas on that? Because I know that when we were putting out the Astral World and Dreams book, you and I both just started having a change in how we dealt with that.
Yeah, the more you focus on it, exactly what you said, the better you get at it. And, when you start diving into it, you'll have more experiences and more dream activity than you normally would remember.
Yes. And what about kids? Their dreams, their nightmares, or this and that. My theory on that is that As a kid, this world is new and it can be a scary place. It can be past life stuff. The neurological research that is most recent says the times where your body and your brain is changing to something else is age 9, age 32, and 84. 83 or 84. I think it's 84. And that is, it's on. You're in a different stage. But for children, I'd say below age 9, the mind is just very volatile and it goes in and it goes out of frequency. Kids are very attuned to the other worlds, but they need to get attuned to earth. You came here to be physical. So that can be challenging. So how do you help kids? I had awful, awful nightmares, but I was a psychic medium. I wasn't working protected yet. Nothing bad happened, but I just had terrifying nightmares. My poor parents didn't know what to do. I would also have beings come and sit on the bottom of my bed. The bed would go down. I'd be under the covers, just terrified. So you're going to feel terror if you don't think that you have the ability to deal with the phenomena, the external stimuli that's being presented to you. So, of course, with dreams, the calmer we get, and to be able to calm a child, what can you do? That's if you have a child having nightmares, talk to them about it and ask them what it feels like. And sometimes what you can do with kids is give them a dream buddy. And the dream buddy was my invention, and it can either be a favorite toy, a stuffed animal, something that they really connect with. So this is going to be your dream buddy, and it will protect you from the monsters under the bed. That does work right up to a certain age. It does work, but you have to use your love and your dignity with your child to figure out what that child needs.
That's very true. Each kid is different. And around age 9, kids do have a shift. I noticed in my kids, their sleep issues and nightmares were all under that age. I really like the dream buddy suggestion because it gives them some control over it. And when they're young, some of it must be past life or other stuff that must be hard for the little ones to get used to being in the physical.
I think so. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Also, to have an evening ritual. I know the ritual at our house, either mom or dad would come in and tuck us in, and we'd say our prayers. And they might talk about what was going on a little bit. And I was never afraid of the dark. I was afraid of what I saw in it. I would see these birds flying up above my head. I would see all kind of wackadoodle stuff. But I was a weird kid, as I've said a lot. But a lot of kids are weird. You're trying to learn how to deal with this world. And so I think the past life can definitely impinge on that. But I'll tell you something about Chiron. Chiron that we've discussed is the centaur who was the healer, the doctor in Greece, the wounded healer. He got injured, I think it was in his hip or his leg, and he couldn't heal himself, but he could heal everybody else. But Chiron will protect you. It protects children. And so they are in a very protected state. Now, if a child is living in an abusive household, it'll exacerbate all that. And that's awful. We didn't come here to experience that, or maybe you did. I don't know. I can't answer that. So I say I have more questions than answers.
A lot of our conversations bring up more questions than answers, but we like to discuss them anyway and see if we can, piece together some sort of semblance of living in this reality.
That's very true, a semblance of it, because Linda and I don't know you. You know you. And all we're saying is go do your own research. Go figure things out on your own. I love to listen to podcasts and listen to other people. And you know how we get stuck on certain subjects? It's like we're in a class or in a school. But you are your own best teacher. And that comes from your soul. You are surrounded with hundreds of beings and entities that are there and available to help you. And you can say, I need some help, or I want more of this feeling, or fix this. I'll do that some. Fix this. You need to fix this now. That's just my own obnoxious little Zuli thing. But what we want to do is present you things to tickle your fancy. What do you think about this? Have you ever thought about that? And we don't need to hear from you about your personal experience. That's not what Zoli art is. We're a clearinghouse for ideas. So go out and be courageous and outrageous with your research.
Oh, that's great advice because we're so curious about things all the time. And instead of living in fear of what, somebody called it a conspiracy theory, so you better not look into it, or, the media is telling you that people with such an opinion is wrong, then maybe you can just look into things in a calm manner and not get so outraged.
Yeah, the rage, that word again. Rage, enraged, outraged. That's the big one these days. And it's developing its own little personality and archetype. I think when we look at things when we're calm, we can connect the dots. In other words, if you have a new theory presented to you, it's cognitive dissonance. It's like, well, that's new, or that's really I've never seen that before. And so it puts us in a different state of mind. And part of us is scrambling to how do we connect that with what we already know that's safe. So we have to find a way in ourselves to be able to be reasonable. Some of this stuff you go, wait a minute. Who is this person and what do they want? The person saying that, do they do this all the time? Do they want attention? Do they actually want to bring up a subject? It can be all of the above or none of it.